Hey everyone, this is Oscar from Underdog, and today I want to talk about creating derivative layers from any kind of source material. If you watched my previous video here, you know that I'm a big fan of techno rumbles. That is, when you take a kick drum, a dry kick drum, and you use that kick drum as an input for an effect chain that creates echoes and smears out that kick drum into kind of a big pounding echo of itself, so that together that dry kick drum feels enormous with that rumble. Now, this principle is super helpful and super good for kick drums. However, it's also really versatile, more broadly speaking, which you can put on anything. See, in a techno rumble, you low pass the rumble and you mono it so that it's in the center of the field of vision, and so it accompanies your kick. But instead of low passing something, you could also band pass it. So what you would do, like, let's take the rumble diagram for a second. This is the rumble diagram. So you split off a dry signal, and then you split off a signal where you smear the sound and then manipulate it to sit better in the mix. Like, for example, you can mono it in the case of a rumble, you can make it duck, you can saturate it, blah, 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 blah. But the main point is you smear it and then you place it somewhere in your mix. And so if you look at the rumble's mastery level, this is kind of what we're doing when we're adding in atmosphere and texture. And so now let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. So example, here, let's talk about the rumble first. Here is a simple kick drum, right? And this simple kick drum, if we add a rumble to it, it's going to sound like this. Right, so we split off the sound, add distorted echoes of it back into itself. Cool. We're going to do the same principle, but for a higher level element, and then we're going to band pass it. So for example, here's a very simple drum loop with no textures on it. Just a random kit that I added in, and I added in some percussion, right? Now let's add some texture. Okay, you see what's happening here? This is kind of like a rumble, but for different percussion. And this particular combinator that I've created has two levels to it, the first layer and the second layer. And so what happens is, first you choose a smearing algorithm, then you choose which bandpass filter frequency you're going to be using, and then you're just going to see how much it pumps with the kick drum and how much volume it has. So let's explore what this would sound like a bit. So moving that bandpass down, here, let me solo just that layer. Really fresh, high layer. Let's change the algorithm. Okay, cool. Now let's add in a second layer. Very cool. Nice. Now let's balance the volumes. It's quite sharp and piercing. We're going to have to deal with that in the mix. But then when we add back in that rumble, now we can see we have to bring down this and blend it to taste. There we go. This is something that I like. In the meantime, I've actually updated the UI of this texture generator to also have a dry volume knob and to just have some lines. So this version I'm going to make available to you to download in combination with the rumble rack. So check out how to do that in the link below. For those of you who like to get a little bit nerdy and see what's under the hood, you can just click here on the devices. And what you'll see is that the incoming audio gets split into two with the spider audio, and then later on blended back together. And so those two different signal chains, one of them goes through a scream, an echo, and a pulverizer, and then the bandpass filter. And the other one goes through an echo, a reverb, and the Audiomatic retro transformer or something, right? And then also through a pulverizer, and then also through a bandpass filter. So what you're seeing really is two different ways of smearing the sound. And you can be really creative with this. When you set up your own signal chains, you can smear the sound however you want. The only point is that you're trying to create a version of the sound that's distinct enough from the original that it has a lot more character, and perhaps that it's also smeared out in time with reverbs and delays, and then go crazy with distortion and reforming effects. One of the benefits of this is that this adds an enormous amount of character and attitude to your mid-range. And so let's see what this sounds like in the context of an entire song. now let's see in comparison what it sounds like if we would take off all those rumble effects. So now everything's bypassed. So just that kick drum and that percussion. You can see that we're missing a lot of attitude, right? So I'll add back in the rumble. Yeah, that's so much more attitude. And then I'll add back in that texture. So much more space, so much more apocalyptic. Yeah, I'm a big fan. So if you're using Reason, grab these exact combinators, or go out there and whatever tools you're using, build yourself a texture generator and maybe a rumble rack. Come show us on the Underdog Discord channel what you did with this. It's been my pleasure featuring here on the Reason channel. And until next time, stay producing, be good to one another, and take care. Bye-bye.